This is a repeat hike of one we took about 8 years ago out of Chatsworth Park area into the Santa Suzana Mountains. This time, however, we couldn't use the trailhead in Chatsworth Park because the park has been closed for the last couple of years. This is due to what is purportedly to be lead contamination in the area. So we had to resort to a different trailhead in a residential area adjacent to the park. And this trail started off as a paved road heading on up into the mountains. And along the way we found there were still some ponds of water left over from recent rains. And here Dale works his way on up the road. Then we take a look at the mountains we're headed for up beyond. And even though we couldn't start our hike from Chatsworth Park, we can look over and see it down below us. We can also look over and see the railroad track above the park that's winding its way on up towards Santa Suzana Pass. And here Jack stops for a minute along the way. And Dale keeps on trucking along. We also start to get a little better view of the area below us. And also the areas we're headed for. And then we started our search for the Stagecoach Trail, which we were not on yet. We were pretty sure we had spotted it and headed off in that direction. And then there it was, the Old Stagecoach Trail, heading up towards Santa Suzana Pass. This is a pretty steep, rocky road, and hard to believe that stagecoaches could make it up. Although I'm sure it was quite a smoother road in those days. And along the way we can also look down and see that single-track railway coming out of one tunnel and heading towards another. And from here we can also look out and get a pretty good view of this portion of the San Fernando Valley. And then we look down and happen to see a train that just emerged from the tunnel. And then we look up to see a plaque embedded in the rocky side hill. This plaque was placed here in 1939 by the Native Daughters of the Golden West to commemorate this as a stagecoach road. And quite a road it must have been to travel on. And we can look back and see it notched into the side hill. And then we reached a flatter area towards the top. From here we had a choice of trails to take. And we found a hilltop to take a look at those choices. We decided on taking a different route for the way back. We came up on one side of this broad area and decided to go back on the other. This also gave us some pretty nice views of the valley below, including some from an interesting angle. And then we came upon a quite pleasant meadow area. In fact, we flushed out 4 or 5 deer. Unfortunately, I couldn't get my camera out in time to get their picture before they disappeared. In a few spots, we noticed wildflowers starting to appear, including some right along the trail. We had thought that going back this way would have made an easier trail. However, it didn't really turn out that way. There were too many choices of trails, and some of them quite steep. But then we got a glimpse of the railroad tracks from the other side. And as we approached, there came another train. And then we arrived at the railroad near one of the tunnel entrances, or exits as the case may be. And as the road we were looking for were off the other end of the tracks, we worked our way along the right-of-way until we reached the tunnel at the other end of the tracks. And from here, we found we couldn't get back to that road we wanted to because we were now within Chatsworth Park and it was all fenced in, with no way to get out except climbing over this fence near the locked park entrance gate, which was a little bit tough on my 84-year-old bones. After a beautiful day hike of about 4 miles with a 500 to 600 foot elevation gain.